Here comes Sam Heughan.
Here's Sam.
Ah, Sam, you're in your dungeon.
Wow. I can't believe this.
Of course, it's so dark.
My house has had a power cut. I'm so sorry. Yeah, I just walked in the house and it was like, what the hell? Can't work out. So anyway, yes, apologies.
The characters, even some of their names. What was Måns's last name? It was this extraordinary Swedish man. What was it?
Bolin.
Måns Bolin. Basically a Bond villain.
Yeah.
He was Swedish, dressed in tweeds, with a special forces beret and a stick with a ram's head. I mean, Måns was delightful. In a sort of sinister way, although the castle itself is a ruin. He is the laird of that castle now.
It was called one of the castles with the darkest history in Scotland because of the fact that the McGregors were basically beheaded there, and many of them were sort of executed there. So yeah, not a very happy place.
And Judgment Hill was possibly even more creepy when we went up there, because Måns took great pleasure in telling us all about this, that if you'd committed some, mild indiscretion, you'd be taken up. And I walked up, and you felt the weight. It was I'm not particularly, into ghosts and all the rest of it, but it was a dark place.
Obviously, we go to Lafroig in the TV show, but Lagavulin is nearby, which I think is probably one of the king of whiskies. We sampled Bunnahabhain, which is incredible. So yeah, Islay whiskies are terrific. We flew there by seaplane, and we visited one of the finest distilleries there. And obviously the island, most of the whiskies there have a very peaty character to them, because they smoke the barley using the local peat. And I think it's just such a remarkable island. It has it's quite a barren landscape, I think. Most of it is peat bog, a lot of midges, but yes. Look, there we go. And oh
my god,
and there we go.
There you go.
It's going really well. It's just such an interesting process, and
I was constantly surprised and amazed by the places, and Sam would just produce a whiskey flask just in the middle of nowhere.
It's a wonderful drink. I wish I had some right now.
Lord Lovat, wasn't it?
He was a double dealing and pretty treacherous, and wasn't there a great story about the way when he eventually got caught and he was sentenced to death?
His attitude to death was just completely blasé. I mean, he insisted on wearing his best clothes. In fact, he sent his wig back to be redressed because he wasn't happy about how it had been done the first time. So he said, "No, I'm sorry, I'm not being beheaded wearing this wig." One of his staunchest enemies actually did say that he met his death with incredible equanimity. He was just he was impressed by his bravery.
Wow.
And after he died, I think the funeral procession that took his body back to Scotland was lined with women that he'd especially employed to weep and cry over his body, which I think, I've already noted that down in my will.
Yeah, I'm also making notes. This is
And the castle itself is, yes, grand, is putting it mildly. Yes.
We traveled a lot around Scotland, and just to see the different parts of the scenery of Scotland, the Highlands and the glens, and go to the islands, it really, I think the landscape really was kind of mind-blowing in places for us, wasn't it?
Yeah, when we would crest the brow of a hill in the camp van, and there would be, for instance, Glen Etive. I can remember it now. I think it's actually in the trailer where I say, wow, where we met up with Gillibrige Macmillan.
Yeah, that's a good one. Yeah, we met with Gillibrige Macmillan, who's a Gaelic poet and singer, and he was
great.
It's great because because obviously every episode of the TV show is a different theme. So we do, song and dance or food and drink. So it's like he certainly starts off our song and dance episode, and we do look at other aspects of Scottish music as well. So we really did get to sort of, experience an awful lot, and I think choosing 5 is really difficult because the TV show we really do go all over Scotland.
It was a wonderfully bleak day. It was an appropriately bleak day. You stand there and you really do feel it, what they went through, and looking at the landscape. I mean, Sam and I actually recreate the run in the show, the charge. I mean, the charge, well, it's only 2 of us, but, you get the idea. The archaeology of it is fascinating.
They found the shot from a musket, and you could see that actually it had the tartan weave on it from the cloth that it had gone through, and some of the Highlanders tried to protect themselves by just literally using their kilts, hoping that might in some way protect them. It was terrifying, wasn't it? And we actually were very lucky. We got to hold a sword, and actually just to hold something that it just holds so much history in it, and to know that the last person that probably held this was firing it in anger or fear, and then goes to their death. It's quite dramatic.